Welcome to episode 3 of Think Big with Michael Zellner, all positive and no politics. I am really excited to have my guest with me today. He is a former point guard at Memphis State, now the University of Memphis. He played around 6 seasons in the NBA, and I want to say about 16 or 17 seasons overseas in Spain. So over 20 years of a career in professional basketball, just amazing. And he currently is the head coach of Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee. I'll welcome to my show, the little General Andre Turner. Andre, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike.
I'm really excited to have you here today. Andre, tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
Well, I don't know about that interesting part. I might be able to tell you something that people might not know. I don't know. I know everybody probably knows by now that I'm married because I married my high school sweetheart. Des and I've been married, and coming this September, be 36 years.
That's great.
Yeah, we have 5 beautiful daughters, nothing but girls. I had no boys, and I have 4 grandchildren. So those are extremely, proud and to me interesting, and perhaps facts that people, everybody don't know, but for Paw and for Dad and for hubby, those are, very important to me.
That's awesome. God, I know you're super proud of all of them. You played high school basketball here in Memphis at Mitchell. When you played there, I believe it was in the late 70s, early 80s when you were at Mitchell High School. And you ended up finishing second time all leading scorer. You still hold the record for career assists and career steals. What do you attribute most to the success you had at such a young age?
A big part of it, without a doubt, Mike, was a work ethic. I watched my dad get up every morning at about 5 o'clock and not come home until about 6:37 every evening. Good and tired, but working to make sure that he provided for us, and we stayed in a modest home. We didn't know, I guess it was extremely modest at the time because we were just kids enjoying each other. But we were in a 2-bedroom house, and it was my mom and dad and then 7 kids. 5 boys and 2 girls. But you watched, him every single day. Those dads back in that day, they weren't the man, I love you, and extra caring or whatnot, but they love you unconditionally, no doubt.
Right.
But work extremely hard. And I knew that if it was anything that I wanted in life, that I was going to have to work for it, and didn't mind working hard for it.
After graduating from Mitchell in 1982, you decided to stay in town and attend Memphis State with Coach Kirk. What led you to that decision?
Big part of it was Coach Finch. I had kind of made my mind up to go to Auburn University. Coach Sonny Smith, who was the head coach at the time, and Tedesco Anderson, who was the assistant coach. When I tell you they were pretty much in Memphis like every week or every other week, the assistant coach Tedesco Anderson was for sure. And all they did was show me that they were, interested, that they were committed to having me be a part of their program. And as I told Coach Finch when he came to visit, I told him, Coach Sonny Smith had been to my house twice. Damon Curry hadn't been to my house not one time. I said, so if Coach Smith, who's in Auburn, can make that trip to come see me, then Coach Curry has to make it over to see my parents because otherwise, I'll be heading to Auburn University. But Coach Finch was extremely influential in making it happen for Andre Turner to end up being the point guard at Memphis State for 4 years.
Yeah, I know Coach Finch, stories I've heard from different people that knew him really well, said he was really a great man.
Oh, man, absolutely. Understatement. Of course, his beautiful wife, Vicky, and I, we do keep in contact. And she always reaches out. Even when I got the job at Lane, she reached out right away. Congratulations. And she'd come to see me, send me the schedule so she knew what the schedule was. But Coach Finch, without a doubt, there's a lot of stories. So we all have our many stories of our Coach Finch, and man, a lot of great things. See about Coach Finch.
That's awesome. When you came to Memphis State in '82, you started point guard, I believe, immediately. You guided the team to 3 straight Sweet 16s, a Final Four in 1985. How did you keep yourself grounded despite all that you guys accomplished?
Well, once again, you got to take it right on back to your parents because they wouldn't have it any other way. They look up and their son had gotten the big head and thought he was somebody better than the next person. They ain't never gonna be a problem. So I didn't have any problem at all because I grew up with a big family and I understood what sharing was all about, what caring was all about, and my whole thing was just being happy with those guys that I was with at Memphis because those guys are the ones who I played against in high school, and now we had an opportunity to play with each other to share and to work in the atmosphere together to build something. And so, man, during those times, those were just great times, and we just stayed together too, man. If anybody was back during those times when we were at beauty shops, barber shops, restaurants, or whatever, you always saw 4 or 5 of us together.
Wow, that's unreal. And that team had such an amazing nucleus.
Oh man, absolutely great. I was blessed because I played with a bunch of great guys, a bunch of great players as well.
It's 1983. You're in the Sweet 16. Most college basketball fans today, if they've really followed college basketball, they've heard of Phi Slamma Jamma, led by Hakeem Olajuwon and your old good friend Clyde Drexler.
Oh, absolutely.
What was going through your mind as he stepped a few steps inside the free throw lane? Now that it's 39 years later, we can sort of laugh about this in a way. I know at the time it wasn't funny. When he took off basically from almost the free throw line like a rocket going towards the rim and you were standing there, what was going through your mind?
Well, actually, I thought I was pretty decent at defense. So, I was setting him up. But it was going back and forth and I guess he figured out he had got close enough to where he could get to that rim, but I didn't know that he was going to take off and be in the air that long. So I set him up for the charge, and I was getting ready to take the charge. And as he kept going, I didn't see his body being able to hit my body. All I saw was his feet being able to hit my face. And so I tried to bail out and tried to put my hand up. And it was a little too late. Like I was still in the pitching. So it wasn't anything to think about. It was like, okay, well, take it. And then, it was funny because, I always say, well, I bet they don't continue to run the clip because when they dunked the basketball, we took it out and they hit me with the ball. And I went down and went to the other side of the basket and made the layup against Olajuwon and Brian Williams. And I was like, hey, it was the same 2 points, man. It was like,
right.
The excitement was the same, though, Andre. I was like, oh, okay, my bad.
Did you see the 30 for 30 special about North Carolina State? In
oh,
83,
yeah, I saw
when they were sitting around the table talking about you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I did, man. Yeah, I was thinking about who was the point guard who basically just bear hugged him, and then they called a charge on Drexler on top of it.
Right.
And I was like, man, that was a bear hug foul all day long against. I'm trying to think of the point guard, but he was explaining how he was just when he'd seen it before and he wasn't about to let it happen to him, so he just grabbed it, and then he got a charge called out of it, which is crazy.
Did you guys play North Carolina State that year? I know we played them sometime in the early 80s. I thought it was the year they won.
We played them that year because we played them the year that Whitberg was hurt.
Okay.
Whitberg didn't play against us. Ernie Myers was the starting 2 guard for him. But Sid was there. Sid was the point. And I was going to say Lorenzo Charles, Cozell McQueen. I don't think that back. I'm trying to think who's Thurman Bailey. Who's playing, man? Trying to get, but what I do know is that the deal.
Yeah, I remember that. I think it was there, wasn't it? That was at North Carolina State.
Yeah, it was there. Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely, it was their place.
Yeah, so that's what an amazing time that had to be.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, I was, young kid, early teens when you played. And I remember you guys had a couple of unusual plays that I guess were maybe set plays. And one of them was on the tip-off. I think Keith Lee jumped and tried as hard as he could each time to tip the ball to you.
Absolutely.
And then he would run around the right side toward the rim. You would come around the left side.
Oh, yeah.
You would alley-oop it to him for a slam.
Man, we tried to set the little back pick. You know, we tried to get a little back pick. Said, hey, it's crazy you say that, Mike. I'll run the tip play right now today at Lane College.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Right now today at Lane College, and we have a couple of successes out of it too.
I don't think I've ever seen any other team do that. You know, for
right.
that team, and you know, the other one I remember, I went to many games. My parents had season tickets at the Coliseum from the 60s all the way till 91, and then at the Pyramid. So I went to the games my mom didn't want to go to. I went with my dad.
Right.
And then I remember another set play where it was at halftime, after halftime, when you got the ball, if we got the ball out of bounds, you guys would line up on the side that you actually were shooting towards and fake the other team out, hoping they weren't paying attention, and they would line up defense under their basket. And then, you know, the ball would be thrown into you. You'd have an easy little layup because there's no one there.
I scored a many of free baskets all by myself. And that was Dana's doing. Dana would set it up, and he was like, come on, we be in the huddle. You know, come on, get out there quick. So we make sure we run out before they would have a chance to run out. And then we set up, you know, like our down picks, like we were really going that way. And then one of them comes sit down, set a down pick for me, and I come out and they hit me. And I just keep going. And I know they was like, he's going the wrong way. No, actually, he's going the right way.
Right.
You got him lined up the wrong way.
And sometimes I think the referee, I'm sorry, I mean, the referee, a few times I remember them helping the other team out. Oh, no, it's that way. And you were like, y'all were trying to tell no, don't say anything.
Right. That's their job. To come out, you know, and say Memphis ball first. Okay, you know, and then Zion ball first. It's their job for the coaching staff to know, you know, and the other players, you know, to know which basket that they have, you know.
Right.
I did this one, so I did the other one in the second half, you know. But that was fun. Yeah.
Why do you think that both of those plays worked so well for so long? I mean, it's I know there wasn't the internet back then where there's more video you can watch, but there was enough where people had videos of the other team, and you would think that after a while people will be like, okay, we know what they're going to do, but it still worked all the time.
No, it worked. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they scouted us enough. You know, maybe we'll be all right. We have to stare at Memphis too much, but they actually worked. It was crazy because we get down and we was like, hey man, you know, we'll be talking. You know, the guys are like, hey, we got to get ready the second half, man. You got to get ready to set the down picks, and, you know, and we try to throw the guy, and man, they look up and they see me running down there and laying the ball up. It's like, what in the world? And then coach over on the sideline, mad at himself, you know, because it's a coach's job, you know,
right?
That stuff, you know. But hey, we enjoyed it, especially with Bedford too. Now I know I do the thing with Keith Lee, but man, what I do when we ran that play and I had William Bedford,
right?
Oh man, I had it for the whole game. Man, if I get that alley early to Bedford, man, Bedford was gonna rebound and block shots for me all day long.
Right. Who called those plays? I mean, who came up with those ideas?
Oh, Dana's idea. Dana. You know, Dana came up with those plays, man. You know, Dana. You know, despite some of the other things, man, Dana was great with us, man. We all enjoy practicing because practices were fun as well. Even though we got after it real tough, but he made it fun, you know, as well. And so Dana was players coach.
You guys played at the Mid-South Coliseum, which I tell people to this day who've never been there, it was the best place in the world to watch a basketball game. I mean, it only held a little bit over 10,000, which is small in today's standards, but it was the atmosphere in there was just amazing. I think that I looked up a statistic once and it said that Memphis State won like over 80% of their games from 1980 to 1990. And I remember watching a nationally televised game. Dick Vitale was calling the game. It was against Louisville. It was on ABC. And we won in the closing seconds. And I remember Dick Vitale saying it was so loud in there. He said, this is like a WrestleMania event. It was just, I remember him saying that, you know, he did it with his, you know, accent and everything there, but like WrestleMania. And how did that crowd affect you guys? The roaring crowd, the loud crowd being on top of you. What kind of effect did it have on y'all?
Man, you're talking about absolutely love. It was you know, you liken it to almost. I was talking to a good friend of mine about how we were in junior high, our ninth grade year, and at Havenview, and we kind of won everything. Our basketball team, football, track, everyone won everything. But that year was so great, and we all got along so well, and it just our atmosphere was. It was that the gym was always loud, the gym was always packed for all our home games. So in that Coliseum, it's just if it was a rough day and he wasn't doing so well or whatnot, that crowd could pick you right up and get you going, man. We were down 18 or so, I think, against Florida State at home in the second half, and man, it just our crowd willed us, back into that game. And I think probably out of all the teams that we played against during my era, during those 4 years, I think the team probably hated the crowd the most probably was Louisville. You bring up Louisville with Dick back time, but I think Louisville, because all of those guys, they talked about the Tigers and especially the student section, because when they walked in, they had to walk right past that student section. And our student section absolutely gave it to them every single time.
Yeah, that student section was in a perfect place right there behind the goal. Yeah, to give it to them coming in, give it to them going out. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Was that when Mitchell Wiggins played at Florida State?
Well, when we played, I played against Mitch when he was at Florida State. And he and Bobby Parks, man, you talking about having some battles. Mitch Wiggins was tough, offensively and defensively, and as was Bobby. So they had you talking about battles. I just remember those two and Michael Thompson from Tulane.
Yeah.
He and Bobby Parks, man, those guys were kind of the same, 6'6", 6'7", athletic, great offensively and great defensively. So that was some great matchups, and we enjoyed watching too,
Yeah, those were some good teams. Of course, with Louisville, Denny Crum himself, without even the players, I mean, you just hated him. I mean, we just were brought up to hate him. And then, obviously Cincinnati with Bob Huggins at the time. I mean, it just some really great rivalries back then. I'm really hoping that I heard that Penny contacted Kenny Payne about them playing Louisville again. And I'm really hoping that comes to fruition, because I think that would be a great rival to renew that we need.
That's something you mentioned there. I talked to Kenny Payne 2 days ago, and he mentioned it to me. That he had been contacted by Penny. He told me, "Hey, let's get my feet wet." Yeah, Louisville, man. You're somewhat established over there in Memphis, But I think Kenny is probably going to revitalize that rivalry. I think he'll probably,
especially hiring Milt Wagner as an assistant.
Well, yeah, and actually he made Milt like the director of ops. I think like Danny Manning is one of his assistants. Nolan Smith, of course.
Oh, wow.
Like a father figure to Kenny Payne, and Kenny, makes mention of it because Derek Smith was, he was Louisville as well. He was tough at the University of Louisville, and so of course Nolan is his son, Nolan Smith. So Kenny was saying that was like no brainers, those hires for him. I think Kenny's gonna do extremely well at Louisville.
You think that they're going to get DeJuan Wagner's son?
Well, I don't know, Mike. You tell me. What do you think?
I think it's going to happen. I mean, we look back what Calipari did, and
Wagner's grandson. Actually.
Yeah. So it's Milt's grandson and DeJuan's son. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I obviously there's reasons sometimes behind those things. So
absolutely.
But it's all legal. It's all legal.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's to my legacy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a smart move. Calipari was smart when he did it, and Kenny Payne's smart to do the same exact thing.
Right, absolutely.
You talked about the big impact that your father had on your life, and I totally understand that, because my father did too on mine. I know you lost your father at a relatively young age. I believe it was your junior season at Memphis State. I know that had to be terribly hard on you. How did you take a terrible tragedy and turn it into a positive in your life?
What you did was you leaned on the fact that you knew that you absolutely loved, and you knew where your work ethic came from. You knew what he meant to the family, and so I dedicated the rest of my basketball, to my dad. And not to say oddly enough, but man, from that point of my career, I probably played some of my best basketball. Definitely it was on that junior year, I got a chance to make a shot or two, and then we ended up going to the Final Four, and things kind of worked out pretty good. If we won the championship, of course, it would have been, just icing on the cake. But and my senior year and the rest of my professional career, I just dedicated the rest of it, to my dad because I knew, he was watching down on me. And the crazy part about it, Mike, is that my dad was a baseball guy. Dad was not a basketball guy. My mom played basketball. She, played 3-on-3,
Right.
and she was a defender. As she said, she didn't get a chance to shoot a lot, but she was a defender, and so she has some pictures with her trophy, and stuff. But my dad did not. Basketball was not his thing, and so he didn't dive into basketball, so he didn't get a chance to really watch me a whole lot. There wasn't even a lot of college games that my dad came to. He might have frequented, maybe two college games, period. And even in high school, he was a baseball guy. That's why my baseball was my first love. Now he'd get me up Saturday morning, 6:30, 7 in the morning, say, hey, baseball practice, let's go. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. I'm trying to wait till Channel 5 Wrestling come on, and that's why I can check it out, with Lance and Dave Brown. But he was a baseball guy, though.
Some of the most fun times I had was watching wrestling at the Coliseum, the Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman matches. That was at the time that you were at Memphis State. And I used to think it was real. I mean, as a kid, I would say, oh, Jerry Lawler's bleeding. That's real. That's real. And of course, you find out later and you're disappointed that it's entertainment. But I'm like, you're entertained.
Actually, I'll absolutely entertained.
One of the funniest moments ever was Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman on David Letterman in '82 when he slapped them. That was just so. I mean, and when you find out later, the whole thing was staged.
Right.
But that was fun. I mean, once again, the Coliseum was just a great place to watch. Anything from basketball to a concert to wrestling. It was just an awesome place. So it's 1985, 84-85 season. The team is stacked. I mean, you have you, Keith Lee, William Bedford, Willie Beckton, Baskerville Holmes, Vincent Askew, Dwight Boyd. I mean, just stacked. You have the most wins ever by a team from Memphis at the time when the team went 31-4 that year.
Right.
In the second round of the NCAA tournament, you were playing UAB, coached by former Memphis State coach Gene Bartow, and in the Midwest region, I believe, second round. And you hit a jump shot with about 6 seconds to go in overtime, and we win 67-66. Everybody's going crazy. Less than a week later, you're playing Boston College in the Sweet 16. And the score is tied 57-all with 14 seconds to go. They're getting the ball out of bounds after 3 back-to-back timeouts in a row by both teams. They throw the ball in bounds. I believe it was thrown and went to Michael Adams, and it went off his foot when he tried to dribble it, and the ball just went straight to Vincent Askew. So Vincent drives down into the right-hand corner, if you're facing the basket, gets all the way in the corner and goes up in the midair, and you're thinking, all right, he's going to shoot it, and he turns his body in midair and throws it out to you, like a 200 pass out to you.
Right.
And I remember the commentator, I was sitting there watching in the den with my dad, and I remember the commentator goes, Turner trying to win it again. He hits it. And it was like, oh my gosh, 2 in a row like that. It was, and I think I told you this 6 years ago when I met you at my store. Both of those plays, actually, I looked up the other one too, the UAB. Both of them are in 2 different polls of like the top 100 moments from NCAA history of all time. Both of those plays in a few different polls, they're rated as that. What was that time like for you?
And it was such a delight because I knew, we were going further. I knew it was something that we were trying to accomplish, as a team. And we had been fighting all year, and I felt like, our team was definitely one of the better teams in the country. And it was just a matter of us putting it together. And I just, even in my high school career, I had a mentality of not losing, not giving up, and having an opportunity to, take that last second shot, man, and be willing to take it and know you have the confidence to make it. And, as I'm pretty sure that all those basketball players did on the playgrounds. The 3-2-1, and then you shoot it and game over. You're all excited.
Right.
And so when I made the one against UAB, it was super exciting and special because there were probably 4 guys from Memphis on UAB's team at the time. And of course, our team was loaded with guys from Memphis. And so that was a little more of a, I guess, specialist with making that shot. And but then to come back and have an opportunity against Boston College, I mean, the score was tied. I said, worst I could do is go in overtime. So I was fortunate enough to get back to an extent almost to the same spot.
Right.
Where I made the other back to the left elbow and facing going towards the basket. And I got there because I was a better shooter, dribbling the ball with my left and then putting up with my right hand. Normally, when I went to the right, either I was getting all the way to the basket and making a layup, or I was making it and I was driving and I was passing. But going to the left, I was a better pull-up shooter. And I had the opportunity to get back there again. And when I made it, it was like, hey, we on our way. We just Oklahoma is there, in that Elite 8, and let's see what we can do, with those guys.
Yeah, and then I know that we went on to beat Oklahoma that same weekend, who had Wayman Tisdale, 63-61. Yeah, I have the memory of an elephant. I just don't forget things, especially numbers and dates. But I remember that game. And then, of course, we know what happened in the Final Four. You and I have had this conversation before. I think that Villanova was probably a team of destiny because we saw what happened. But I still think that we had the best starting 5 for sure in the Final Four.
I'm in agreement, man. I can say it was a destiny-driven deal, I think, for Villanova, because the way they played against Georgetown was, kind of out of their minds. And I know, as I've heard on a podcast where Dwayne McClain and Billy Martin was on it, Ed Pinkney was on it, and they were talking about, that particular game. But they had played each other, a number of times already, in the regular season, then in the Big East tournament. And so they had a good feel about playing against Georgetown because the games were tight. Each time they played, there was a blowout. And so it was just about putting it together, and it was almost like a perfect game. I mean, you shoot 60-some-odd% from the field, if not 70%. And you beat Georgetown, who, everyone felt like, was the, more talented team, of course, with Patrick. So it was meant for Villanova. And I think Raleigh, Coach Massimino did a great job with managing the clock, which, he didn't have a shot clock.
Right.
So he ran a 2 or 3 minute offense if necessary to get a good shot, and that's what he did. And those guys who listened, and they carried out the game plan to the team.
I mean, yeah, I remember him slowing the game way down against us. I believe it was tied 45-all with a couple minutes or less to go, and they end up winning 52-45. I know he probably outcoached Dana Kirk that day. And, they slowed the game down, took Keith and William out of the game. They didn't score too much.
I think began the game as well.
Yeah. And so it was tough. I still think if we played them 5 times, we'd win at least 3.
Oh, no ifs, ands, about it. If it was a series, absolutely.
Yeah. But we know it's not that way, but
No, it's not that way. And then what was crazy to me too, Mike, I know this is something that's, kind of over here, but during that podcast, I was listening to them talk, and Dwayne McClain made the statement that if we would have beaten them and played against Georgetown, that Georgetown would have beat us by at least 25 in the championship game. And I'm saying to myself, so in the world did you come to that? And so I've been talking to a guy, so he's trying his best to put together a podcast where we all can get on there together and have our little debate about how we feel about it. Because I'm saying to myself, come on, man, I know you played basketball for a long time. You have to. You can't, way you can feel like that. Georgetown would have beat us by 25 points.
Didn't we beat Georgetown the year before?
That was my thing. I couldn't wait to bring that up. I said
with Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, it was neutral too. It wasn't like it was in Memphis. It was definitely in Georgetown. I think we might be in St. Louis somewhere and whatnot. But I was like, yeah, with Patrick. we beat you guys, man. We beat those guys. So, but anyway, that's for another story, for another
That
day.
would be fun. I would love to see that podcast. That would be a ton of fun to watch that. Yeah, that would be a fun debate. Lighthearted fun, but yes.
Yeah,
fun.
absolutely.
Dana Kirk was once quoted as saying the smallest guy out there has the most leadership. And he was referring to you. What made you such a great little general on the court?
I was kind of a no nonsense guy. Even in junior high, I think I was just a little bit more advanced than some of the players. Some of the passes that I would make and things that I would do even in junior high playing basketball. And Coach Boone, who was my ninth grade coach, he felt extremely comfortable, on the sideline, just kind of let me run the team. And I wouldn't hesitate about getting on guys. I just, because in practices, what I did was I worked everybody. I worked extremely hard every single practice. Sprints, I didn't want to lose a sprint. I don't care how small the guy was than me or bigger. We were running sprints. I didn't want to lose. And so my mindset was never losing in anything that I was doing. And I've always been like that, whether I'm playing cards, I'm shooting marbles, tetherball, hockey, whatever I'm doing, I want to win. Right. And that's something that drives me. And so when I was at Mitchell, it was that way. And so when Dana, had the opportunity to come watch me play at Mitchell, he would see it, and guys would not be rebounding or would be playing defense, and I didn't hesitate, to get on them. So, they get it from me, and then they get it from the head coach too. Once we got to the sideline, and so it was just a carryover. It was a carryover, from my previous earlier days on to Memphis State.
I saw I believe it was your last college game in the '86 NCAA tournament in Baton Rouge. We won the first game, and then we had to play LSU on their home court, and we were the higher seed. I mean, now that doesn't happen anymore, but I mean, it's hard to believe that even happened. I mean, how did they get to play on their own home court? But we were up with about 5 minutes ago, I think around 10. And I remember I was getting ready to go run to the payphone to make reservations to go to Atlanta the next weekend. Because I'm like, we're going to go to the Sweet 16 4 years in a row.
Right.
I didn't do it. And I waited. And then I remember the end of the horrible end of that game, that ball bouncing around and oof.
Yeah, he picked it up off the floor. We scrambled for the ball on the ground first. And then Wilson picks it up off the ground and shoots it over Bedford. A bank shot, so of course he wasn't trying to bank it.
Of course not, right?
And he goes in, but as they said to Paul Pierce, when game winner he had, said, "Hey, did you call bank shot?" He said, "No, I call game. That's what I call." So when the ball goes in, it's game. But
right,
that was heart wrenching, and I was trying to be around that ball. I was like, "Why can't somebody dive, on the floor, for that ball, man? And let's get into overtime." But the other part of it too was that I felt like we went into a four corners way too early. And I was coming to the sideline, I was telling Dana, and I was telling Larry as well, we got to keep playing. I said, we can beat these guys 15 points if we keep playing. But Dana wanted to go into, the four corners. And so we were playing not to lose,
right,
as opposed to playing to win. And we paid for it.
Yeah. Isn't it true that usually doesn't work or didn't work back then?
Yeah, I'm telling you. So now we get to, you had 10-point lead with about 2 minutes left on the clock. Different story. Now after 5, now you get up and make your free throws.
Right.
It's tough because you can hold the basketball. So nowadays, with a shot clock, and now you kind of play towards the shot clock, whether or not we're ready to start fouling yet or playing good defense. But back then, the four corners was a big thing. Especially when guys got up and kept the floor spread. We had a pretty good free throw shooting team, at the time, but this time it didn't work out.
You were drafted in the third round of the '86 NBA draft by the Lakers. I know you went out there, you played just a short period of time out there, but I believe you got to play some with Magic and Kareem. And then you went to Boston and got to play with, I think, Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, McHale, Ainge, that crew. Those are some of the greatest basketball players of all time. They're all Hall of Famers. I mean, what was that experience like?
Crazy. Like you couldn't have written, to an extent, a better script for a young man within like a week and a half time to be released by the Lakers. So and in the summer league, I played extremely well. I played really well for the Lakers, and I was there until the very last cut. But we played preseason games, together. And even one game, I came to the bench after getting a steal and making a nice little pass, and Magic Johnson, screaming out, little magic, and I'm like, oh boy, I gotta change this.
Right.
I gotta change this.
Right.
And to the very last day, where they had to, nail the roster down, and they brought me into the office and had, a list of 13 names with 12, checks by, and then one X by, the name that wasn't going to be there. Of course, that was my name, and it was heartbreaking. We were out in California, and I was married at the time too. So I had my wife, with me there as a young fellow right out of college. But I was glad that I did, because she helped the situation out a great deal for me, as opposed to her being out there being by myself. And so, it was tough, but it was God's plan, and I went home, saying, okay, they got to regroup, and I know we tried thinking about perhaps the CBA and whatnot, which was at the time, and I get a phone call. It's Jan Folk from Boston Celtics. It was like, hey, can you be at Boston tomorrow? It's like tomorrow. Right? It's like, well, we can go today. We don't have to wait till tomorrow. But I go, like I say, just from 1 week being with Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Wood, Michael Cooper, Barry Scott, AC Green, all the Kurt Rambis, all these guys. To the next week, I'm with Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, and it was mind blowing. But it was me trying to find that spot, and then I was thrilled about being in all those situations, and undoubtedly it helped me a great deal. But actually, Boston is where I earned my first NBA paycheck. Because when they picked me up, the season had started, Scott Whitman got hurt, and so they brought me in for Scott Whitman, and so that was where I actually earned my first NBA paycheck.
That's cool. 1991, you're playing with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are playing the Bulls, and Michael Jordan is guarding you some of the time. And I remember seeing in the commercial appeal a picture of you hitting a shot over Jordan. And I think you told me you did something with your leg. What happened in that play?
Well, I was actually going to the basket, and I was going to go and just lay it up, because John Paxson was guarding at the time, and I made a quick move, and Hersey Hawkins had cut through. And so I waited till Hersey, as I thought Hersey cleared where Mike was going with it. And when I made the move and went baseline and go to lay the ball up, Mike stopped and came back for help. And when I jumped with both hands on the ball, but with both of my feet kind of going in the air, and my left foot, after I jumped off of my right foot, kind of caught him right where his pants and his jersey was tucked in, and it was like he was beginning to jump, but when my feet went up, it stopped him. So all he could do was put his hands up, and so he complained to the ref afterwards, saying, "Hey, he kicked, hey man, that's a kicking." And so I turned my head after I made the bucket and took and sprinted back. I wasn't about to say anything, about the play. But the guys see that and say, "So did you make the shot?" I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely, we made the shot, man." And that was crazy, because we were playing them that particular day in Chicago without Charles Barkley. Charles didn't play there. It was on a Sunday, and Charles didn't play that game. And so I scored I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 points that game, and we ended up beating Chicago.
Yeah, that had to be. And is that the first year that they won the title, or is that the second?
Oh yeah, they absolutely won. They won it. As a matter of fact, I want to say that particular year they lost maybe one game in the playoffs. We beat them. Hersey Hawkins hit a 3 against them, and we ended up beating them. They ended up beating us 4-1, but we ended up getting us a win.
Wow. After playing professional ball in the NBA, and then I believe in Spain for over 20 years, you finally decided to retire. That's just an extremely long career. That's just incredible. You came back to Memphis, and within a few years, you were hired at Mitchell, your alma mater, to be the assistant basketball coach. And then 4 years later, in 2015, you're hired as the head coach. You guys won back-to-back titles between 2014 and 2016 state titles. What was that like for you to be able to do that at your school? I mean, that had to have made it much more special.
Oh man, absolutely. The other part was that we were doing it in the gymnasium that had been named the Andre Turner Arena, and so I'm on cloud nine. I'm back at home and man, being able to coach in the arena that's been named in my in my honor, and it was just a special moment every single time that I went in there just for practice. It's like chills, like a place that's been renamed, in my honor. And I'm actually coaching, being able to become the head coach, being able to win, the state championship as the head coach, my very first year. And that was just mind blowing, for me. And it was something, you couldn't have written the script, to an extent, any better. If you want to say, hey, one day I'm going to have my gym named after me, and then I'm gonna coach the team, and then I'm practicing in my own gym. Then I'm gonna win me a state championship. I'm in my own gym. It was unbelievable, and still to this day, it's one of those things like that. So it really did happen.
That's awesome. Last year you were hired by Lane College. I know that probably, even though it was going to the college level, still probably sentimentally had to be a little bit hard for you to leave Mitchell because of the special bond that you had there with the school, with the kids. And going to the college level, I know that has to be super exciting to finally get that opportunity to do that. You had such a successful career playing assistant coach, head coach in high school. What does it feel like to do that on a college level now?
Oh man, I'm super excited. I just finished up press conference with 3 of the new coaches that we just previously hired, and one of them was the women's basketball coach. And so, you're the vet to an extent now, seeing us, but they still have more experience than you have, coming from somewhere else to be the new coach, but they don't have more experience than I have in Lane College because they're just coming. But coming on the college level, man, it's just a challenge. It's the challenge of having the confidence to know that what you've learned over all these years, what's been embedded in you as a coach, that you take with you, things that that will work, but you have to impose that on your guys. You have to impose your way of thinking, how you want things to be, and it's so important that the basketball is the vehicle, but it's so important that we as coaches understand about the many hats that we wear, and the person is way more important than the player. And so we're molding and building this individual so that they could be great and productive in this world, because one day, the basketball will stop bouncing.
Right.
You'll have to, do something else. And so you want to make sure that you've done your part, as opposed to making them work extremely hard and sprinting up and down the court and working on these drills in the summertime work, but that they become great people. So that's nonstop. The basketball is at times, but the building of the individuals is nonstop. And so at this level, I just felt like it was time when I left Mitchell. It was time to go to another level and to try to impact these young minds, and also to build, because you want, as a coach and as a player, you want to go to the pinnacle. You want to go to the top and see what it is you can do at that level, if you really have the ability within you to be able to do that. And all of us, I think, have a great deal of confidence about what it is that we do. But I've always been challenged. I feel like I've always been like the underdog my entire career with everything that I've done. And so I love it being right here in Lane. I think it's a larger version of Mitchell, where I've come from. And so, and what I do, I get a chance to see a lot of my students as well, because I have a lot of students that come from Mitchell that end up coming here to Lane. And
Great.
So they get to come over here, to my office and speak and say hi and hang out with me a little bit. And so you're continuing to have that impact, even though, you had them in high school, but now you're in college, so now they're in college too. So I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now at this particular time in my life.
Do you think that coaches today have more impact with their players than maybe during your time because there's more ways to communicate with them?
Perhaps, but I heard a guy tell me a few years back that the AAU coaches were more important and more impactful to players than the high school coaches. And I thoroughly disagree. Told the time that we spend with our students in school and in practice has the impact. I said you get them in the summer, and you have the little time frame of working with the guy, and because they're trying to go to another level, that the coaches get a chance to see more of them, perhaps to an extent, and get a closer look with the AAU traveling, all during the summer. But I totally disagree and said that, we as the high school coaches, definitely have an impact, and you have to understand that, at our time, I just think it was, I don't know, perhaps it was a little bit more personable, and the respect was even more so. I think, back then, I think our students and our kids and our players, they're very respectful now, but I think back then, it was kind of no nonsense, and
Right.
we knew that the coaches had real relationships with our parents, and something that we did, they would hesitate, and then our parents would give them full authority to do whatever they wanted, to with us. And so back then, they could pull out the paddle and get hold to you, Mike. You gotta even think about a paddle these days,
No.
and your job is gone, and the whole nine. And so I think it was a little more personal, back then. But I think because of resources today, that coaches, perhaps can have, I don't know, maybe a little bit more of an impact, but because of resources, because our things have changed.
I mean, speaking of impact, you've impacted so many lives since you were young. I mean, from the people that you played with in junior high and were so successful to what you did in high school, in college, not only the players you played with, but the joy and fun and excitement that you gave people. You gave that to people. I mean, just like you said, you consider yourself being, the underdog. Like I always say, you can see behind me, all the Rocky movies. I'm Rocky obsessed, the underdog. That just really has to, I mean, to the lives you're impacting now. I mean, because, we know that the majority of people, even Division I, the huge majority of them never going to play pro basketball.
Absolutely.
So they have to be able to learn, and, because they're going to have to live their life, just like you said, after basketball. I mean, having that impact, I mean, I would say that probably is one of the most important assets that you've given, to anything.
I appreciate that, Mike. But that's our, to me, that's our purpose. You know what I mean? That's your purpose. And if you're on this earth and you think that, man, whatever it is I do and whatever it is I accomplish, and when things come to me, that's my biggest joy. That's what's supposed to happen, and that's supposed to drive my life. Then you miss your purpose. Being here. If that individual next to me, if I'm able to do something for somebody that is going to impact them and give them something where they're going to be able to do something for somebody else, then now we're talking about purpose driven. And so, I've always, and once again, this comes from, my upbringing, mom and dad, about respect and loving, caring, about your fellow man, about the next individual. And so, you give up there. My wife, sometimes when we go places and, people acknowledge, who I am, or we trying to go into a place where there's a long line and, I'm standing in line. She said, if you go up there, they're probably going to let you in. I was like, oh, no. I said, you think I'm going to go in front of all these people that are in line too? I said, different story if the guy's up in front, he screams out, hey, Trey Turner, hey, come on up,
Right.
Then I'm not going to not go,
Sure.
But if I'm in line, sister, we're going to be in line, and we're going to be just like everybody else. So I've always tried to put myself in that same mind frame that we're all, just as good as, each other, and no one's better than the next. And so with whatever accolades that have come my way or whatever's happened to me, I've always tried to pride myself on just staying me, just being me, and not thinking that I'm better than anybody else, and just trying to love on the next person. I've fallen short, absolutely. I haven't just been great, my whole little life, but I can honestly say that I'm not that guy where somebody could reach out and say, oh, Andre Turner, oh, he's a terrible person. I remember when he did this, and he's just so terrible over here. No, I don't think that is out there. But it's you just find out that's how you blessed. You find out how you being blessed, and those are the real accolades when you find out. You look at somebody and it's like, hey man, I remember you, man, you are the same as you were when 1980, and so you haven't changed and whatnot, and they love you, and I told when I got my community, they loves me. So those are my accolades. That's all the trophies and plaques and stuff that I've earned. Those were fun because I worked hard, to try to earn different things. But when I go back to my neighborhood and my folk love me, and I go over to the University of Memphis State, and I see some of the old boosters and the old fans and they love me. So those are the immeasurable trophies that I have and that I love. Overseas when I played, the fan camaraderie that I built, over there playing, man, that's the love that I received. Those are my real trophies.
And that leads me into my final question for you. What are the most important lessons that you've learned in life?
Man, first and foremost is the saying, go treat people as you would like to be treated. Always be aware of the next person. Sometimes you think you have a rough time and things are not going well for you. Someone else always has it worse.
Absolutely.
Someone else always has it worse. And so I say this to my kids, and when they think that things are not going well for them, and they have the use of all their limbs, they're able to get up and walk and go where they want to go, or use their hands to eat, and have a vision to be able to see. These things I said that you just take for granted that you are supposed to be able to do, that so many people don't have. So many people are, to an extent, are less fortunate. But then you go talk to those individuals that don't have, and they're living life. They're not messed up or twisted about, they don't have the right arm. They're good because they're using the left arm, or they don't have, they're using their feet, but they're surviving and they're enjoying life, and they're trying to do what they can to have an impact on somebody else's life. So I just try to live life whereas what is it I can do for somebody else to make their life better, and to try to continue to build on teaching my kids to be great people, and to be impactful in this world, to whereas people will say, hey, that little Turner group, and so I call her, tell them about their name. Don't mess up the name. Don't
Right.
bother the name. Now your mom and I have built this, and so we built it from our parents, but now it's the Turner. We've got together, so we're Turner. So don't mess up that Turner name. So I think we're doing. I think we've done decently, and we're doing it. Our girls have grasped, and so that makes you feel great and proud as a dad, because you want to succeed. I don't care, people get to talk about you want to succeed. I want to succeed at everything I do. I want to be, that great husband. I want to be, a great dad. I want to be a great, granddad. Great coach, great mentor. Father figure to others that perhaps don't have, that father figure in their life. And just be that person that people feel good about. Always be approachable. They got it. They feel good about it. They feel at ease that they can go and come and ask whatever it is. And if I can't do it, or I can't help them, maybe there's someone that I can call and be able to maybe help me out to help them.
Wonderful. Andre, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I know you're extremely busy and recruiting and working at Lane, and you were, I know people told you this before, but you definitely were one of my idols growing up, watching you play. It just, high school is sometimes not the easiest thing in the world. And to have that escape, to be able to go to the Coliseum to watch basketball and watching you guys play just made things so much more fun and so much easier. So this has been a great experience today. So thank you so much for coming on.
Man, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, Mike. I've enjoyed it, man. I know maybe down the road, we'll have another episode where we can get back and do it again.
Absolutely. Can't wait for that. Thanks again so much, Andre.
Thank you, Mike. Take care, man.
You too.